a brand new day, and we'll be making history. Are you with me? Won't you stay? We have come so far. This is who we are. And like the rising sun, we have just begun to play our part. This is the time we form the chorus. Lift your voice for those before us. We can rely on one another. Feel the pride, let's show our colors. We are heroes and dreamers. We are restless believers.
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, whatever time it is, wherever you are. This is Gail of Gaia, and this is Free Range, where we graze on wild ideas and we have wonderful guests. And my wonderful guest today, and a friend who I've had on before, is Michelle Marie Angel. We do regular shows. And also my friend Ismael Perez. I've had him on before, but it's been a while, so I'm really happy to bring them both on. And I'll bring Michelle on first, ladies first. Maybe we'll change that. And there you are. Hi, everyone. Hi, you guys. How are you doing?
Good. How are you?
Hi, Gail.
Nice. Hi.
And it's a pleasure to meet you, Michelle.
Nice to meet you, Ismael.
Likewise.
All right. Well, I was wondering if I heard some of what you were talking about earlier today on a show you had earlier this morning. About the photon belt, and I would kind of like to cover that a little bit. Any new information, or there's some people that say that it's new age and it's not even true or backed by any kind of science. What do you say to that? And then I'll go to you, Michelle.
Well, the photon belt is a real phenomena. There are many of them, not just one. It just so happens that our solar system is also traveling around the galactic core. And we are part of a binary star system. And astrophysicists have recently cut on to that in the last few years. They're saying that the star system that we are a part of has a family of stars. And that is so correct, because we are part of a system comprised of 52 different star systems with approximately anywhere from 600 to about 900 roads. So the photon belt is a monastic field of light that actually comes from the galactic core. And like a duff nut ship, because it's a toroidal field, see the galactic core is spinning at the center, right? Unfortunately, scientists, when they look at that, they assume it to be a black hole, but that's just basing it from a third dimensional perspective. However, from a higher dimensional perspective, it is pure light energy vibrating. It is the core, the heartbeat of what we call the logos. The logos is the consciousness of our galaxy, as our galaxy is also sentient and alive. So there are these super galactic highways of light that stem from the toroidal field of our galaxy that go like this, like a duff nut, and spin back around into the southern part of the galaxy to create that toroidal field in between. And so as solar system, as the billions of stars are moving across the galactic core, our star is also moving across the galactic core. So according to my research, it appears that every 25 to about 26,000 years, our solar system aligns with the great central sun of our galaxy. And that is known as the photon field. And it is believed that we have been entering or emerging into this photon field since 1987, which marked what is known as the harmonic convergence. That's when astrophysicists and spiritual scientists began to detect that our solar system is entering a high monastic field of light that is coming out of the galactic core. And so this is a phenomenon that repeats every 25,000 years. So we could say that the last time this happened was probably around the time when the golden age of Atlantis, or when we say the dark age of Atlantis, collapsed. And so it's happening again, and every time our solar system gets emerged into the photon field, well, guess what happens? Everything that is evil, everything that is of darkness dissipates, vanishes, transmutes. And everything that is, of the light becomes upgraded, becomes exalted. And so it is a time where many call the beginning of a golden age. And it is very real. It is light energy vibrating at such a high frequency that unless you are living in harmony with, the principles of the Christ consciousness, which is unity,
You're back.
what I mean, harmony, brotherhood, sisterhood, seeing the interconnectedness among all living things, then there is no way you're going to be able to live in this photon field. So it's a phenomenon that takes place every 25,000 years. And there is scientific evidence, by the way, that our solar system is almost fully immersed in the photon band.
Oh, wow. That's what I wanted to know, because someone was asking me that a while ago, and I really didn't know where we were. I just know that we're supposed to be going there. Anyway, we got that screen there. That's okay. He must be rearranging something. But
sorry about that, guys. Sorry about that.
Yeah, that's okay.
Discussion of the equinox. And Sri Yukteswar wrote in his book, The Holy Science, and he explained the cycles and the cycles of enlightenment and darkness and so forth. And so the cosmic light comes in, it interfaces with our cells and our DNA, and we get upgraded, and our ability to receive and transmit energy, information, and our intelligence increases a lot. I mean, to say the least. And so that's what the enlightenment is. That's what the ascension is. We get activated, and all of our dormant senses and the mastery that we've had before is coming back online.
That's what you're reminding me of something else that I know that you've talked about too, Ismael, and that is what they used to call the junk DNA, which is our real superpowers, all mixed up because they were disconnected.
Yeah, and it turns out that our solar system has been in the photon belt over 5,200 times, which means that civilizations have been here for millions of years.
Yeah,
that explains the rise and fall of golden ages, right? When it is believed that when our solar system is embedded in the photon band, we have golden ages. Everything is, like my sister Michelle said, everything is high frequency. We're using full consciousness. Every being has a direct connection to God. Everyone has a connection to all living things. So they call it the golden age. And as soon as we leave the photon band, we start entering the dark ages for a period of about 10,000 years. And then, of course, we enter the photon band again. And so this has occurred about 5,200 different times. And that means that as a result of that, this planet is no longer going to experience any more dark ages or our solar system, because we've already completed 5,200 revolutions of going around the photon belt, which is equivalent to, by the way, a galactic cycle that is known as a 206 or 226 million year cycle. And that's awesome. That means that, okay, so the way the cosmic structure is broken down is that since we are part of a system of 52 different solar systems, right, we're part of the Pleiades system. The Uranian material calls it the Satania system. And so our central sun, our parent sun, is Alcyone. Alcyone, which is the sun of the Pleiades and the seven sisters. And so we are the eighth missing sister. So we, along with Alcyone, are also revolving, and along with Sirius B, which is our grandparent star, right? That's where it all began. That's where humans came from, by the way. The original seeding came from Sirius, right? The Anunnaki didn't seed us. It was the Syrians and the Lyrans, actually. But the revolution...
Thank you for confirming that.
Of course, yeah. So the revolution of I want to say the arm of light, which represents the forces of good, which is our solar system, with Alcyone and Sirius B, are revolving around the galactic core in a period of 206 or 222 million years. And so that is the equivalent of 52 revolutions of us going around the photon belt 5,200 times, or going into the photon belt and out of the photon belt, into the photon, and so on and so forth, 5,200 times. So that is the equivalent of that. So what that means is that not only are we going to be, not only is the Earth going to be ascending in our entire solar system and the entire system that we belong to, but the entire galaxy is about to ascend. And I've come to understand that our galaxy has also been in a fallen state. Our galaxy used to be part of a bigger, larger galactic sphere known as the AMBAYA galaxy, and that is spelled ANWAY, which means that we were once connected to the Andromedan galaxy. And there is
Oh,
records of that, by the way,
wow.
that are going to be that are going to be restored, right, when all this
Mhm.
information comes out. And so, as I speak right now, our galaxy and the Andromedan galaxy are once again colliding. But because we are perceiving it from a third dimensional perspective, we, as the scientists of this planet, assume it to be a period that takes about a few million years. But as we go into the fifth dimensional Earth very soon, where there is no time, it's going to happen immediately. And that means that our galaxy is once again going to merge back with its parent galaxy. And by doing so, the parent galaxy is automatically connected to the eternal life systems of the central mother universe, which means that we're going to be settled in life and light for all eternity to never again experience dark ages. And that is the beautiful thing of living in the times that we're living in, is that this is it. It's not just about the Earth ascending, it's about the entire galaxy ascending, where there will be no more ages of darkness anymore as a result of that.
Wow. Well, I'm sitting here getting goosebumps the whole time you're talking. Spiritual messages saying, yep, 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 yep. That's so.
We are also here to help each other in this transition. So some of us came in, whether you call them, star seeds, light warriors, light workers, and so forth. We came in, and as souls, we signed up or volunteered. And we said, I'm going to help be a midwife. I'm going to help raise consciousness. I'm going to help understand how this transition and transformation is going to take place. Because some people might get scared, feel disoriented, need some hand holding, want to understand it, want to put language to these things. And, we're actually even creating new vocabulary since we've been more in the ascension process. Because we have different ways of processing, just like if you're upgrading like an antenna or, a radio, and you're using different frequencies, and you're going into, scalar waves, and you're going into, different ways of being and understanding and relating to information, even getting, like people when I was young didn't talk about, I got downloads, and now it's very common. And people didn't say, well, I'm processing the energy. Now that's very common. So we're here sort of like midwives in a way. Wouldn't you say that, Ismael, in a way?
Absolutely. Yeah, we're the mediators between the younger souls that I call the Earth Terrans that started their evolution from the bottom and are ascending in gradual processes or in increments. We are the old souls that have already completed this many of times before. We are the high priest and high priestess of Lemuria. We are the high priest and high priestess of Atlantis. We were the ones that were burned at the stake during.
Yeah. I remember.
Oh my gosh, I just had goosebumps on that. And if you don't mind, I'm going to tell you a little story, because when I was growing up, there were 7 kids in my family. It was a blended family. And what my brothers and sisters did at the time, I took it, I took offense really at it, like they didn't like me or something. But what they did was there was a corner of the garage, and they hung up a broom, and they called me a witch. And I was like, wow, what are they thinking? And they said different things to me as if they knew something I didn't. But later I took it as a compliment.
Well, that's an interesting one. One of the things that somebody just mentioned that, let me bring this up. Lenny said that, I'm just waiting for the powers that be telling the truth. Knowledge should never be hidden. Well, as we get further and further into this photon belt, nobody will be able to lie. Truth will only, it'll just be at the truth frequency. Isn't that correct?
Absolutely. Yeah, everything's going to be transparent because telepathy is coming back online. When people are in a state of telepathy, how can you hide things from others? However, we're still going to have our own mental privacy. We're going to be able to shut telepathy on and off at will, but at the same time, we're going to be able to people are going to be so transparent when we communicate via telepathy that it's going to be impossible to lie. So in the golden age, also bear in mind that our frequency is going to be at a hertz, right? That is so high and so aligned with integrity to the point where there won't be any need to lie anymore. Everyone's going to be transparent, and everyone's going to be living in a state of cooperation. And that's what we're moving into, by the way, as we become part of a social memory complex.
And I believe also that in our consciousness upgrade, we can perceive intentions and motives. If someone has an ulterior motive or an agenda and they're not speaking it, we can still feel it in our heart sensor, because we're aligned with absolute truth. And we know if they are trying to bear false witness or telling lies or keep secrets, we can feel that.
Oh, we've been doing that. I think a lot of the reasons why I want to say the high level souls didn't buy into the, all that stuff in the last few years is because we kind of on an intuitive level knew that was not good. And so, we've been doing that already. I think
many of us have. That's intuitive common sense, but the ones that did buy into it weren't at that level of attunement to the truth, to the soul, to the Christ self.
Exactly. And
or another way of saying it, the veil of understanding, that like Jenny usually says that one.
Yeah, the veil of understanding.
Yeah,
that's so true. And right now, a lot of us are being upgraded. I keep hearing it from a lot of people. I'm getting all this feedback that they're having dreams, prophetic dreams, that they're actually seeing motherships, that they're seeing things that are happening. And I always let them know that that's part of our psychic abilities are enhancing. As more of the DNA comes back online, everyone's going to be psychic. There won't be any more need to consult mediums anymore. There won't be any more need to, pay somebody to give you a reading, because you're going to be tuned in. Everyone's going to have the ability to be tuned in to the field and know things before they happen. And that's beautiful.
And that brings to mind the idea of these med beds, because I'm going, well, will we really need them? Maybe the 3D people will need them. But as we rise in consciousness and abilities, I would think we always had the ability to heal ourselves. It was taken away from us with genetic alterations. But if that all comes back online, we'll heal ourselves. Don't you agree with that?
An electromagnetic photonic, generator. And so when we understand and master frequency, we can heal ourselves. We can also protect ourselves right now against any frequencies. We can build a strong radiant light frequency and be protected by our own light. And so I agree with you, Gail, that we are learning heavenly healing from within. And, a lot of times we are taught from within, which, it's happened to me. And that was one of the questions I was going to ask Ismael, actually.
Go ahead, ask him.
Okay. All right. Have you ever had an experience where you felt like you were being guided through an experience by some sort of like an inner teacher or guide, and they were teaching some specific lesson?
Yes, I have. I've had dreams actually where I'm being taught by these advanced entities, interdimensionals, ultraviolets, huge beings of light, and they're teaching me how to master my mind, in a sense where I'm learning supernatural abilities, like how to walk on water, how to levitate, how to teleport, and they're actually teaching me in detail these things.
Wow!
When I wake up in the morning, and I'm like, whoa, was that a dream, or was I really in training?
Definitely. And that's what's exciting when it comes direct and from within and stuff like that. Because I had one, and I call it an Archangel Michael lesson, because he was one of my teachers, and I was going through an experience, and I called this lesson in the moment guidance. And it was, calling in the moment for specific answers. And I went through this ordeal at a job I was at, and I was being guided through this whole process. And I used that lesson at the culmination of that process. So that was pretty cool.
Nice, nice. I think a lot of people are experiencing that at this time. They're
One of
being,
the, oh, I'm sorry.
oh
Go
no, I'm
ahead.
just going to say they're being trained either in their when they're sleeping, or in or in other realms or in other realities, whether they know it or not.
Right, whether they know it or not. Multidimensional things are happening since we are multidimensional.
I really feel that since the energies have been rising, that the ability to connect to source is just so much easier, or so much readily available. I don't know how to describe it, but I have experienced a noticeable difference. And
I bet it's easier for everybody because
that's what I mean. I think so.
The collective is, also rising together.
Mm-hmm.
Well, and you're saying where the whole galaxy is rising. It's not just the Earth, or wow, that's big. And then coming together with the Andromeda
Galaxy, which is our sister galaxy. Yeah, the Andromedan galaxy is what connects us to the eternal life systems of the always existing central universe. And so, because our planet is positioned within the Milky Way, which was once part of the Andromedan galaxy, the AI villain, I don't want to call it a god, but the cosmic vampire at the highest level of all negative extraterrestrials and Elohim, fallen Elohim, that is, severed our part of where the Earth is, which is a Milky Way, and dropped the Milky Way into a lower density. And that's why the galactic wars happened as a result of that. Whereas before there was no galactic wars. That's why there was a huge, you could say, downfall when it came to the original golden ages here in our galaxy by many advanced interstellar races. And that also explains why the Draco, the reptilians, right, who are the fallen angels, by the way, when we read about it in the Bible, when we talk about the angels and the demons are the reptilians, by the way. The angels,
thank you.
Yeah, the angels are the guardians of the different realms. So there are multiple realms. And so that's how the galactic wars began, when the reptilians, the Draco, came into our system, and they were literally just dropped into our system from another universe that had already been assimilated by the AI, or by this negative, intrusive, invasive AI.
When you said that, it's this ancient AI which created this construct, holographic construct that we're currently in, that we think is Earth. I mean, I guess I don't know how to explain that. It is, but it isn't. It's not the original.
It's a replica. Right now, we're living in a replica version of the original Earth. The original Earth is what Dolores Cannon talks about, the new Earth, which is already coexisting here, but on a different dimension. So when the gates open, we're going to be translated automatically into that Earth. So this Earth, this temporary construct, which was imposed by the holographic inserts that were established around the fall of Atlantis by the Interplanetary Computer Network, which was in place by Enki and the Anunnaki, the fallen Anunnaki that decided to make a slave race. That construct is coming to an end by no later than 2028, 2030 maxima. So in either case, we are going to be experiencing this major transition, either into the positive ascending Earth.
It's got to be that.
It's got to be that, right? But
there's no other option. I'm sorry.
Well, the other option is again, it is a further matrix that is being generated by the digital, by AI, cybernetic intelligences through, the metaverse and digital avatars and all that stuff, in collaboration with, the towers and everything. They're trying to create the infrastructure for what Rudolf Steiner calls the embodiment and incarnation of the Ahriman. The Ahriman, which is another name for the AI god, pretty much, who operates technology through artificial intelligence.
So basically, they try to hijack consciousness using surveillance, deception, and all their AI tools, so that although we are powerful and we have free will choice, we're tricked out of, following our conscience and developing our conscience. And that's why we're here to bring people back to the light, their own light within, and, refortify that network and work together for good, which really increases the bandwidth of the light and the collective consciousness. And so, just helping ourselves individually helps the collective, and then helping the collective, helps ourselves, because it's a one web, it's oneness of consciousness.
And I think it's so important for us as light workers to connect and be supportive of each other, as that will just brighten the light even more. And rather than being all everybody has something to offer, everybody has roles to play, and I think that's important as well.
It's true, everybody.
Yeah. A lot of people don't believe that because they haven't figured out what theirs is yet, but I don't know, what do you say to those people? Just keep.
Everybody gets activated when they get activated. There's divine timing, and our soul has a path and a blueprint, and we're all part of the divine plan. So just like a play, there might be, one person's part to play at a specific given time, or a number of people. And then on another scene, it might be someone else comes onto the stage and plays their part. Different people might be in the limelight at different times, or not even in the limelight. They might be backstage doing something that, the whole play would fall apart if they didn't have that person playing.
Yeah. There's certain critical roles that are frequently behind the scenes too.
Exactly. So everybody's more important, I think, than they really realize. And the main thing is your vibrational frequency. And somebody might not be onto this trajectory at all, but they have the most loving heart, and they're caring for kids or animals or homeless or whatever. And, they will be activated. They will be activated at the proper time and when they're receptive.
Yeah, that's how normally it works. And there are different levels of consciousness. Not everyone's on the same level. And everybody does come in with a particular energetic signature. So the way the Orma, I just recently posted a transmission from the Orma feline race from the Vega star system planet Avion. And one of the questions that I asked is like, how is it that you guys are able to live in harmony and in cooperation? And the answer they gave me was that every being is like a musical note in the grand symphony of the cosmos. And that's the best way to describe it.
I use that metaphor all the time, that it's a symphony, and we're all being orchestrated by, there's one, what do you call it, the maestro with the thing? We're all following the same leader, if you want to call it that. But in the symphony, there's somebody that leads all, and everybody plays in the symphony, and it's just absolutely beautiful. It's like a symphony of souls. And that's the thing too, like even in a composition, certain notes or instruments are played at certain times, and they come in and out just, at the perfect time and the perfect tone. And it's really beautiful. I mean, I really can see souls and the beauty of souls. And it is all about that, that individual frequency of light that is uniquely like beautiful, like different shimmering diamonds.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. And we could say that the person that is doing that, I think they call it the orchestrator or the grand maestro.
Yeah, that's it. I think you're closer than I was.
Yeah.
We could, metaphorically speaking, we could say that would be Source, God with the capital T, orchestrating, right? The universal architect orchestrating everything in creation into perfect harmony, So yeah, totally agree.
You're reminding me of something that I just saw today about the Solfeggio. I can't say it. Those frequencies, those notes, and so on. And it's a short little clip, and it's really good. And if I can find it, I'll play it for us. It just goes in, is right with what we're saying, what we're talking about. So keep talking, and let me see if I can find it real quick.
I will say a word about attunement. In my particular process, and I've been a daily meditator for, over a couple decades. And in my process, I sort of go into surrender, attunement to God's will. And that's really a big thing for me, attunement to God's will and surrender. And attunement to the highest frequency, our creator, God, whatever, people have different ways to, say God or source or supreme eternal one. There's many ways to say it. But when you basically attune to that frequency, you feel orchestrated. You feel like you're in the divine flow. You know what feels like in the flow and what's not in the flow. And then you're in that rhythm and you follow your life. And I know I've done some things that were in the flow in terms of my soul, but other people on the physical materialistic realm thought I was crazy for making certain choices. Like, for example, one time I quit my job as a tenured teacher and sold my house that was paid off and didn't have any mortgage left to follow my heart and go up to the Northwest. And, I started doing spiritual seminars and workshops, and my soul was elated, and that was perfectly right for me. And my life went on from there. But other people thought I was crazy because it wasn't the materialistic sort of success story.
No, people always thought I was crazy because of some of the things I did. And it seemed perfectly normal to me. I think sometimes they're the ones that are crazy and they don't know it either. Anyway, I did find that. So let me bring it on. And I think it's just so spot on at the moment. And then I have to make it play. Hang on one more second. Okay.
The ancient Solfeggio scale, known as just intonation, is renowned for its use in the Gregorian chants, but its history can be traced back to biblical times. The 6-tone scale and an additional 3 tones discovered since is considered by many musicologists and scientists to have a positive effect on the mind and body. The monks used the original 6 Solfeggio notes in their Gregorian chants, which we now know consist of the frequencies 396, 417, 528, 639, 741, and 852 hertz. Unfortunately, by the 16th century, the scale was lost, though the exact cause is unknown. Some say the Solfeggio was abandoned for a new music scale. Others argue that it disappeared among Western Europe's Middle Ages political and religious turmoil, and there are even some who posit some more, conspiratorial theories, from biblical secrets to plots by the Roman Catholic Church. But why exactly is this important? Why should you care how musicians tune their work? It's important because many argue that we lost more than a simple musical scale when the Solfeggio scale was replaced. The Solfeggio scale is mathematically consistent with the patterns of our universe. Solfeggio frequencies are a set of 9 electromagnetic tones that are required to have the power to heal and raise consciousness. This ancient scale has far-reaching potential, from repairing emotional trauma and opening up spiritual consciousness to deepening our relationships and altering DNA. The atoms in our bodies, the molecules and atoms in inanimate objects, thoughts, and sounds, all things in our universe are in motion, vibrating. Even the planet itself vibrates and resonates at its own frequency. The human ear can only hear a limited range of vibrations per second. In science, the number of vibrations per second is known as frequency, measured in hertz. The human ear is only capable of hearing sounds that vibrate at the frequency of 20 hertz to 20,000 hertz. At the heart of Solfeggio frequencies is the belief that the vibrational signature of certain sounds, ranging from 174 hertz to 963 hertz, can positively impact our mental, physical, and spiritual health. They form the basis of ancient sacred music traditions dating back to the 8th century, such as the Gregorian chants and Indian Sanskrit chants. The Solfeggio frequencies commonly associated with the Gregorian chants are a form of monophonic song of the Roman Catholic faith, dating back to the 9th and 10th centuries. Solfeggio fundamental sounds were used in both Western Christianity and Eastern Indian religions, chanted by the Gregorian monks and in ancient Indian Sanskrit chants.
that sounded like singing bowls.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
It really did. Now, doesn't that just kind of almost back up what we were just talking about, how moving into that um,
The photon belt.
photon belt?
Yeah. And that's pretty much explains the photon belt. It's such a high vibrational frequency that unless we match the frequency, it's going to be impossible for us to exist within this new Earth that is already coexisting, in this higher dimension.
It's so interesting because I ran into that at a time when, I mean, I didn't know exactly what we were going to talk about today. it just popped up there, and of course I always had a little meditation prayer before I do a show, hoping for the best, to be guided like you guys were talking about. So anyway, so activating the DNA too. So that just goes to show you that that's another aspect that's coming online as we move forward. And I'm really excited about it. I really am. I know there's some strange things happening, but it's also people are showing very clearly, more so than ever, what side they're on, who their allegiance is really to. And
Yeah, it's going to be impossible to deceive people nowadays. The veil is lifting, and even within the truther community, there's going to be a separation between those that are really working for God, that are really here to make a positive change, to help uplift the frequency of the masses, right, to help awaken the consciousness of humanity, as opposed to those who are just doing it for the money, or giving half lies with some misinformation. And so we do have some of those, unfortunately. So it's going to get to the point where only the truthers, can't even say it, who are aligned with God, are going to be the only ones left, having their platforms when the good guys take over the airwaves.
And I feel that is coming fairly soon.
Very soon, yeah.
Yeah, certainly before the end of this year.
Absolutely.
That's good to hear. Okay. Did you have another question that you wanted to ask, Michelle? I think you.
Yeah, sure. I have a good one. Let's see. Did you ever have a feeling that one of a life experience that you were going through was actually a spiritual initiation?
I think everything in life, even in this lifetime, whether good or bad, is all educational. It's all part. We actually orchestrated. I'm a strong believer that before we incarnated into this body, we orchestrated everything that was going to happen to us for the educational purpose of the expansion of the soul and consciousness. And that's how some of the star seeds become awakened and triggered, is through trauma.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Right.
What a way to go, though. It's like you got to be traumatized to activate. But it does. It makes a big difference. But it's also, I've always said, you learn more from what goes wrong than what goes right.
Exactly. And those people in your life who have caused most of your suffering, who have given you most of the obstacles, who had made life hardest for you, are your greatest teachers. Take that however you want to take it. But
I actually
understand,
Well, I actually have a book that I wrote, and the title is Nothing But Angels. And it's about exactly that. Everyone who plays a part in our life is an angel serving the evolution of our soul. So whether they appear to be friend or foe, they're basically an angel serving the evolution of our soul. And so that's one thing to realize. When you think of things on that level, it's a whole different perspective. And so I had an experience like that, which is what prompted the question. And it was a very difficult experience. And what happened was I responded with unconditional love. And I was guided from within to go lay down next to this creek. And there were some bushes behind me. And I was communing. And I was told, that was a good job. You came back with unconditional love in spite of that difficulty or trauma that you just went through. And at that moment, unbeknownst to me, on the other side of those bushes, there was a senior center, and somebody had gone there with, there was a bagpipes, and they started playing Amazing Grace. And I was laying there by the water, hearing Amazing Grace on bagpipes. Right after I got this internal, you passed this one, you did it right. It was so surreal. It was absolutely surreal.
I got a question for you, Ishmael. I didn't catch all of it. You said something, and I wanted to hear it, and I couldn't. I got interrupted, and I never got a chance to go back to it. And that was, you were talking about the 13th key, and then I got a phone call or something, and I wanted to hear the rest of. Would you explain what you were talking about a little bit in that regard?
Sure. So we do live in an infinite existence where creation is an eternal happenstance. However, we are part of 12 major creations with innumerable minor ones. So our universe, our galaxy, and the Earth hangs in the 12 creation, and that explains why everything is in the numerical system of the 12, right? We have 12 chakras, 12 strands of DNA, in our original makeup, that is. The 12 houses of the zodiac, the 12 apostles, the 12 tribes, the 12 knights of the round table in the courts of Camelot, and so on and so forth. So it has, one of the things that I've learned is that this Earth, as it ascends, and hence the galaxy and the universe, it's also the universe, our universe is going to reach completeness. This is going to mark the beginning of the 13th creation. So Earth is going to be kicking off the 13th creation. So everything's going to go back to, as we align back with the mother universe, everything's going to go back from the system of the 12 to the 13. So so instead of having 12 months, we're going to have 13 months with 28 days, which is going to be perfectly aligned with with the menstrual cycle of a woman. And it's also perfectly aligning with the cycles, the natural cycles of the divine cosmos. So we are going to kick off the 13th creation as a result of the planetary, galactic, and universal ascension. And everything is going to be switched to the idea of, instead of 12, the sacred number is now going to be the 13th. And so that's what the 13th is. It's the return of the mother goddess. It's the balance of the divine feminine. I was
wondering if it had something to do with that. That's awesome. I did put up that caption about SuperPatch, and the reason I did is the creator of this product was inspired from above, and the monthly pack has 28 in it, not 30. 31. So somebody was aware of the way things are going to go in the not too distant future. So that's I thought that was kind of interesting, because when I first got them, I went, well, there's only 28, we need 30. But they go, okay, we're going to 28. But that's awesome. That's a great explanation. I knew 13 came in there somewhere. I just wasn't sure exactly where. Now, you said something about it having something about compassion and unconditional love related to that too. I remember hearing that part too.
The principle and the key in our, you could say, in the neutralizing of all the evil forces is not fighting back anymore. Is having unconditional love, because even our fallen brethren, the reptilians who only played the dark side for a few million years, right? Fallen angels, they have souls, and even they were once, part of the whole, right? They were once part of the company of heaven. So by us showing them unconditional love and not, fighting them or not showing aggressiveness, we're actually teaching them, and we're helping transmute their genetic programming, their limited mindset. And so as a result of that, we are able to free them from their genetic programming, because the dark side, we could say the negative extraterrestrials, right, the reptilians, are only operating through genetic programming. They were only, they were giving a certain creation myth at the beginning of their existence, and that was to dominate, to conquer, which later precipitated into the parasitic, narcissist mentality, right? Feeding off of the energy of other souls, right? And so all that stuff was inserted in them by Lucifer, who was the original Draco. And I talk about this stuff in my book. I make a perfect correlation between the Galactic tale and the Bible in terms of angels and demons. Michael and Lucifer. Well, the Lyrans, the original humans in our galaxy, were actually the children of Michael. And the reptilians, particularly the draconians, because at the same time, not all the reptilians were evil, right? Some of them decided not to join the Lucifer rebellion, or some of them defected from the Lucifer rebellion, but overall, they became the children of Lucifer. So that's why when we study in the book Revelation and we read about how he became the first dragon, well, we're not talking about the original cosmic dragons, because those are benevolent. Those are the guardians.
That's what. Okay. I'm glad you brought that up.
Yeah, those are two different types of dragons. We're talking about the fallen dragon. We're talking about a high level spiritual angel that rebelled against God, and took 1/3. And those angels that decided to follow Lucifer, they went from having this angelic physical light body, looking humanoid, right? And they became these gross looking, demonic, beastly looking things. And that was their curse. That's how we were able to distinguish between the fallen celestials to that of the unfallen celestials. The unfallen celestials remained as the Adam Catman. They were able to continue in that image, which is the Adama, which is the human form. Whereas those that joined Lucifer, they were transfigured into the reptiles that we call today the reptilians.
Wow, that's interesting. That's a different explanation than I've heard before. So, wow.
I think that what you're saying about transmuting energy and unconditional love, what I'm feeling like as being, part of being in service is to hold that space. And I feel that energy of compassion and the violet flame are basically work together or are one and the same, because I feel that energy of compassion and the violet flame and hold that space of unconditional love. It's, I guess, what I call silent work, when you're doing energy work inside and you're just trying to serve the collective and serve in some way, using the energy of compassion, prayer, holding the space and holding that space of unconditional love, because it is that understanding that really leads to compassion. And what you just said explains, in a sense, how to understand. And I know I prayed for understanding, and I went through some difficult things so that I could understand, because a lot of times we overcome things or go through things because our soul wants to understand what is it like to be in this situation, so that I could then understand and have compassion and help heal, all, our brothers and sisters, because that is true. And as far as people that have been programmed and took this and all this stuff, in the beginning, I didn't feel compassion. I would just look at them like, where's their common sense? And later I had to change myself and say, wait a minute, Michelle, you know how this works. My guides told me to quit watching TV a long time ago. I haven't even had a TV in years. So, and I meditate. So I'm just, have been tuned in to different frequencies my whole life. And so to me, it was common sense, but I didn't get at first why it wasn't common sense to everybody. And I had to step back and grow myself in compassion and look at the deception and, how that took place, and, look what they're going through and falling for because of those tricks and traps, because of the, deception, that they've fallen for. So I had to change myself and be of better service by bringing out the compassion and understanding. And I had to whip myself into shape.
one of the things that just by your saying that came to mind, and that is that I have so many people ask me, a lot of light workers out there say, well, you got to do the work. You got to do the work. And people are going, well, what is the work? I don't know what I'm supposed to be doing, kind of thing. And so to simplify things, it's just a matter of self-examination and understanding and know thyself, and know when you get triggered, you have to ask yourself, why am I being triggered? What is it? What is, what's causing this? Things like that. I guess that's what they call, other people call shadow work as well. And, but I think everybody will be activated and have a chance unless they just totally reject, as some of the fallen angels did, or the rebellious types that want to stay with the dark side. Otherwise, I think everybody will be just fine. Some just may advance faster than others. But anyway, Jay Thought is saying, can those lessons we write for ourselves get hijacked, and how do contracts go bad? How to recognize and recover from non-realized attacks? Maybe things are happening just as though they're supposed to, but anyone want to take that? Ishmael, you want to answer that by any chance?
I want to give Michelle the opportunity to answer that.
Okay.
Well,
Go for it, Michelle.
I think a lot of times we don't realize that we actually did create this script for our life and these difficult things that our souls go through. If we don't take responsibility as souls for creating our experiences, then we're victims. But as soon as we come into our soul power and realize, everything has a purpose. I have a purpose. My experience has a purpose. It really goes back to purpose. And purpose, in a way, you can be an objective, neutral observer and go, what is the purpose? Instead of blaming, judging, self or others, and just take that higher perspective, look for the purpose, and then learn the lesson. And that's the alchemy of consciousness, where you just take the lead of any experience, turn it into the gold of wisdom, and use that higher consciousness and that higher perspective, and then change things and change ourselves. I mean, I always think my greatest power is to change myself and to be the best I can be so that I can be of service.
Oh, beautifully said. I agree. Yeah. Another way to describe it is by letting go of the ego mind and seeing things from a higher mind perspective, and not absorbed, but observing it rather than being absorbed by the circumstance. That's another way of tackling, things like that, and understanding that it's part of the life lessons.
I think too that part of what comes in there is perspective is formed based on information and belief systems that we have either maybe have been programmed into or conditioned into. And those perspectives, as more and more truth comes out, are going to change with the truth frequency to a higher form of a higher perspective, a higher consciousness. That's what I see happening.
Yeah, I think what you're saying is right. And the perspective also has to do with self-identity. If we buy into some limited sense of identity, like I am just a physical body living in a material world, and, we don't get the, go face the inner light, be the inner light, understand ourselves as a soul, as spirit. When we change our identity to spirit, then we have that spiritual intelligence, that higher connected intelligence. And, we just see things a whole different perspective. The higher consciousness is a higher perspective and a higher intelligence. Mm-hmm. But we do come into a place where, they're programmed, we're programmed, and limitations through deception, really, and self-identity deceptions,
Lies.
People putting labels on people and, saying negative things. Children buy into that. And so when I was a teacher, I was very much against labels, because labels limit people. Mm-hmm. And, they're just not true. They're just not true. Everybody's a genius. Everybody has, star-like potential. and everybody has a heart sensor where they can determine what is true and not true. So, I mean, I told my students, don't believe me. You need to check your heart sensor and discern what you're hearing, no matter who's talking to you.
Very true. Very good. We need more teachers like you.
Exactly. That's what I was going to say. You were a really true, authentic teacher. Unlike, 70% of the teachers out there who are just really doing it for the salary and for the summer off vacation. But I did read one of the questions earlier about how the Galactic Guardians, whether you call them the ET Federation, there's many names to describe who they are, the Galactic Alliance, they have been bombarding us with higher frequencies of compassion, love, and transmuting energies. And the Hydras, that's another form of reptilians that I do talk about in my book. You have the Dracos and you have the Hydras, right? Those are the two types of reptilians that the United Federation of Worlds, or we call the Galactic Alliance, has been fighting for the last, at the level of the galaxy for millions of years. So that is so true, and that's one of the ways in which these higher intelligences are able to transmute the lower vibrations of a planet is through the bombardment of higher frequencies, compassion, and love. Because the dark side, the reptilians, whether you call them Hydras or Dracos, they can't live in such a high frequency vibrational, reality, because it'll destroy them. It'll destroy their system. And that's why they're not welcome to the new Earth. That's why when we are fully immersed in the photon belt, which, many call the Christ light. That's another name to describe the photon belt, right? It's the Christ consciousness. All that is evil will be unable to be sustained, and they're going to be bursting.
And
are we talking about real combustion bursting?
Yes, we're talking about real combustion.
Really?
I'm talking about people that are really wicked, that are literally, whether they're Satanists or just consciously hurting others, narcissists, they're going to have an internal combustion. They won't be able to sustain these new frequencies when we're fully immersed in the photon belt. And they're going to their body's going to break down, and it's going to be painful for them, because they're at the cellular level. They're going to be unable to process all of that light that's going to be coming into their body via their cells, by the way. Yeah.
Wow.
And on the other side of that, when you know that you're ready and you know that these cosmic energies are flowing in, like a lot of times when I am meditating, I'll open my hands and I'll know, and I will consciously, intentionally receive the cosmic energies that I know are coming in and available. It's like you're sucking it up like a sponge, and you know they're there, and you're ever so grateful. And then you get, information and downloads and activations and inspiration and ideas. And it's just so exciting. I love it. It feels good.
And coincidences. That's another sign. Yeah, that's what I meant. That's what I meant, actually. I said coincidence, but I meant synchronicity.
Yeah, somebody just said, it sounds like an EMP. Absolutely. It is going to be an EMP. It's going to be an electromagnetic pulse that is going to totally take out the grid system of artificial intelligence and the system of the beast, which is, all of the wicked that have been running the show for thousands of years.
This is, I had somebody, when is it okay to use your gifts for anything other than their purpose? I don't know. Is that supposed to be funny there or what, Jay thought? Maybe you're a prankster. Is that what it is? Prankster and fun. Okay.
I know that I have had a strong sense of mission, and I've been writing books for years, and I really only started letting them go public about less than 2 years ago. I published 3 books. I published one book in 2005. It is A New World After All: Poetry and Prose to Inspire a New World Vision. And it was before its time, because it was talking about all the institutions dissolving and falling apart, which they're doing right now. But so it's exciting.
Yeah, a lot of your poetry and the books that we've gone through little parts here and there during different shows. A lot of what you wrote years ago is actually very relevant today, more so than it was when you wrote it. far more so than when you wrote it, really, because stuff is really happening now, and that's.
And most of them haven't been presented to the public. So I have 48 stories for Awakened Awareness, and I made some of them into audiobooks. And I actually uploaded them onto Rumble and showed them on your show, and then took them back down again, just sort of like previews. But they do raise consciousness, because they are like truth codes, I would say. And that does affect your DNA, because the soul feels the truth. And I had
it's a frequency. I keep saying that. It's a frequency.
Yeah, I had a really interesting experience one time. I wrote a book called Clothing of the Soul, and I was in a 7th period class. I was a substitute. The kids were like wild and all over the place, you know, Friday, end of day, you know, substitute, you know, they're going to be wild. And so I said, would you kids like to see, you know, hear a book I wrote? And they're like, yeah. And I read the book, and they resonated so much with it. You could hear a pin drop by the time I was done reading it. And I was like, oh my gosh. I mean, it surprised me, the effect that it had on them.
Okay. I got some questions coming up too for Ismael here. Sherry Graham wants to know, is it true the Anunnaki are back and Enki is going to donate his DNA to recharge our DNA strands back to our original pattern? Supposedly he did this once again. And I think Noah, who was born. I don't know what that means, but okay. What would you say to that, Ismael?
Well, first of all, everything we know about the Anunnaki has been translated by Sakurai Sitchin, and it's come to my attention as revealed by Arizona Wilder that he was actually part of the deep state.
Yeah,
you know,
I heard that too.
The Bohemian Grove member and everything, and he was part of the Bilderberg and all that stuff. But the whole point is that even the Sumerian tablets themselves were re-edited. They were completely modified. They actually flipped the story around. Let me tell you guys about what's happening in the disclosure community. Unfortunately, a lot of people who have huge amounts of followers are pushing the Enki narrative, saying that he was the one who made us, and so on and so forth. Let me just remind you guys that before the Anunnaki came to this planet, there was already an existing immortal race. They were called the 12-strand DNA Taranusian race, or also known as the Orphan angelic race. So what Enki did is all he did was downgraded the original immortal race by mixing them with the monkey gene, which gave the Rh positive blood type, unfortunately, and in order to create a slave race. So, and you're probably asking me, well, you know, according to this person, he's returned to restore the original genetic blueprint that's going to make us immortal. And that is not the case. The actual immortal gene is already inside of our DNA. It's just inactive. So as the solar flash takes place, as we fully emerge into the photon belt, that immortal gene is going to activate itself. We don't need an extraterrestrial to bring us any technology that is going to allow us to become immortal. It's already within us. You know, all they're trying to do in this community, for those that are pushing the Enki narrative, who is, by the way, the great trickster, the master geneticist, the abomination of desolation. He's the reason why, you know, during the times of Atlantis, things failed. He's the reason why the Nephilim existed. You know, he's the reason why monstrous-looking creatures emerged and were eating, you know, humanity, and were wreaking havoc across the planet. And as to why the flood needed to happen. The flood needed to happen to cleanse the world from all of those abominations that were not part of the original angelic blueprint. So as harsh as this sounds, you know, it's like we're being duped. You know, people are pushing the Enki narrative, and he's not the good guy. He's actually the bad guy in the Anunnaki story. Unfortunately, when we read the Enuma Elish and the, you know, Epic of Gilgamesh and the Atris, the other manuscripts that are called the Sumerian cuneiform tablets, they've all been tampered with, and they were all tampered with by the high priesthood of Belial, who happens to be Marduk, the son of Enki. And so I've come to understand, according to my galactic research as cosmic ambassador, I've had access to the Alcyone records of the Pleiades, and in the Alcyone records, it reads a little different. You know, Enki is part, through Anu, he's part angelic human, which means he carries Lyrian, Pleiadian, Syrian DNA, but through his mother, Thramin, he's also have Draco reptilian. Whereas Enlil, who many are throwing under the bus and saying is the bad guy, is actually Zeus. I know this is weird, but he was actually Zeus, and Enlil and Zeus are one and the same, and he is pure celestial angelic. He carries a pure line of celestial angelic DNA. So everything was inverted to make him look like the bad guy and Enki look like the good guy. When in essence, it was the other way around. And so he did come back about 3 years ago, and that was right around the time that the powers that were rolled out that. So if anything, he is aligned with transhumanism. He is totally changed himself as a cyborg. He's no longer organic. In fact, when I reference how there used to be this intergalactic computer network that threw us into this, hologram that we call the 3D matrix, that was done by Enki, by the way. When we learn about the Saturn moon matrix, right, which kept us incarnating over and over again by imposing this frequency fence so that we wouldn't go beyond the 3D, that was also caused by Enki. So when all of this information comes out, a lot of people within this community who are pushing the Enki narrative are going to be, blown away when the truth comes out. And so I just wanted to let you guys know that there is no ET, there is no alien out there who has the cure for our immortality. The immortal gene is already in us. All we have to do is just activate it by doing the internal work. We don't need another alien savior. We don't need to depend on external powers anymore. This is the time where we have to go within ourselves to discover, who we are as made in the image of God, which is the Christ. The Christ is a frequency that exists within every single human, and there is no ET out there who has the cure for that. We have that cure for that. So I just wanted to let you know that this whole Enki narrative is a big deception nowadays. And, like I said, when the truth comes out, when people's DNA becomes activated, and when they go from limited consciousness to full consciousness, they're going to be able to see through this web of deception that is being imposed upon in the disclosure community. They're trying to switch. They're trying to create another God Savior mentality, in other words. And I'm not going to mention her name, but, there is a Trojan horse who is used as an instrument, who actually was taken over by Enki about almost 3 years ago, who no longer channels Valnek or whatever his name was, but is now been under the possession of Enki. And, some of you know who I'm talking about.
I do.
You do.
I do too.
Yeah. So she is the Trojan horse, and that's why her friend, Danny Henderson and Michael Sala and all of them, that's why they all side with her. So, and it's fine, because they're all attacking me, including ALEX. I don't want to mention his name, Collier.
I know.
That's why they're teaming up against me, but it's all right, because when the truth comes out, and like I said earlier, when the veil becomes fully dissolved, people are going to be able to see who is of the light and who isn't. And when that happens, everything will be revealed. So I have nothing to worry about.
Exactly.
That was the main point, and it's what Gail and I did our last show about, going within, the Christ within, direct contact, that's it. There's, when you look out into the world and you can see, stories and narratives and this and that, and I'll tell you what, not only did I shut off my TV years ago, but, my inner light is my primary source of information and definitely discernment and validation. And so you can really just shut out that noise and then go within into that silence and that peace and find out, for me, and I know it works for everybody, find out your own soul's blueprint, find out your own purpose, find out, when and where and how you're meant to shine and help. We're here to be of service, and we need to discover our gifts and our internal talents and what God has given us as unique individual souls, and shine that light, because we're each so unique and so special in the part that we play in the divine plan, in that symphony of souls that make up, bringing heaven to earth.
Absolutely. Exactly.
And thank you for explaining that to Ishmael about the Enki thing, because it just makes perfect sense, because they have inverted everything else. It's just like when you say, we've been lied to about everything, but not my religion.
Exactly.
I think it holds true. And I heard that about Stitchin too, that he was deep state. So there's always an agenda then. And
Absolutely.
it's all
And,
making
the same powers that were, who have been dominated by these Hydra Draco overlords. Think about it. Who do you think Marduk was? Beelzebub, right? In the Christian theology, he's known as Beelzebub. Oh, or Satan. He's the same entity who is also the son of Enki. By the way, Enki had two sons. Well, actually, he had many children, because he was a raper. I shouldn't say that word. You know what I mean? He was a lot of women.
Prolific,
using that word, but he did that to a lot of women against their will. Okay, but he did have, Thoth, who was also known as the plump serpent to the ancient Aztecs and Mayans, who, by the way, resorted from a spiritual practice to human sacrifice after they were visited by, what they call Kukulkan, or they called him Chida, and they also called him Quetzalcoatl.
Okay. Yeah, big long word.
That's
a big long being. Yeah.
Sons that were very active in the inversion of our world, as to why there's been so many sacrifices throughout the ages, with the children and everything, as they sacrifice these kids over to these entities, which are the children of Enki. And that's how they keep them alive, they feed off of that.
Yeah, because they're not connected to source. And if anybody that's absolutely connected and going towards source and, becoming one with source in that frequency, then they don't have to be energy vampires and, actual vampires.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I appreciated your explanation about the RH factor too, because it makes more sense than a lot of the other things that I've heard,
Yeah. 87%, 89% of the population has the rhesus monkey protein synthesis, which is the primitive gene.
The monkey gene. I tell them the monkey gene.
Yeah, are you calling it the monkey?
They get mad at you when you say that.
The RH stands for rhesus.
Rhesus monkey. Yeah, that's what it stands for.
Yeah.
Yeah. Even when you ask a doctor, well, why do you guys call it rhesus monkey? They're always giving you a complicated logical reasoning that is not entailing the fact that we have adopted chimpanzee, gorilla DNA, or that we share DNA. Well, not us, but those that are Rh positive. They share that within their genetics. I think it's like only 3% though, because most of people's genetics are angelic. Like I said, there was an already existing angelic race. Who do you think the Atlanteans were? Think about it. The Atlanteans were established before the Anunnaki came into the scene. The Atlanteans existed over 1 million years ago. The Anunnaki have only been in the scene for less than 500,000 years ago.
Wow.
So
yes.
Our true ancestors, have been traversing the stars, colonizing the galaxy and other galaxies for millions of years. And if you want to get technical, they all originated in Lyra. All human-like beings come from Lyra, or at least they spread from Lyra. After the Draconians or Hydras, whatever you want to call them, after they attacked the first Lyran society, or after they destroyed their first homeworld, which was known as Avion, there was a diaspora, a refuge, you could say, expediment. What's the word I'm looking for?
Expedient?
Where all of a sudden the surviving Lyrians fled off to different solar systems and different parts of the galaxy in order to preserve the human race. Yeah, so that's why we still exist, because of those humans that decided to disperse after they were first attacked by the Dracos approximately 560 million years ago. That's how far back our human lineage goes back to, by the way, 560 million years.
That's a long time.
Absolutely. Yeah.
RH negative people are, this is my perception, is that the direct connection to the infinite intelligence and eternal, source is more intact naturally, and that's why the intuitive or psychic or ability to telepathically communicate with really anyone, not even necessarily on this planet.
Well, yeah, because they were left undiluted, and those were the a small percentage that was actually preserved by no other than Enlil, the guy who everybody says is the bad guy.
Mm.
Enlil, Zeus, Jehovah, whatever you want to call him. Why do you think why the early Israelites or the children of Abraham, right, and Isaac and King David, why do you think they weren't allowed to intermix with the other clans? Because the other clans suffered from a high concentration of reptilian genetics. But of course, in the Bible, we read it as a metaphor saying that they were unclean. They didn't talk about reptilian genetics, all right? Even the Bible is a metaphor. And why do you think that they were allowed to kill all these other, tribes that were sacrificing, again, the little ones to who? To Beelzebub, to Belial, So everything happens for a reason, That's the reason why there are Rh negative people today, because of the preservation that took place when Zeus, Enlil, Jehovah, who is the original God of the Hebrews, decided to preserve an original stock so that by the time we reach the 21st century, it would be, 12, 13% of the world population.
And why is AB negative specifically the most rare kind of blood, do you think? Is there a reason for that, or do you have any information?
Well, between that one and the O negative, which is the universal donor, I would say those are the main purest bloods on the planet. They're copper blood, and what I mean by copper is that they're not iron based. They have a higher electrical conductivity in their blood, right? In other words, like in terms of Star Wars, they're like Jedis. If people that are Rh negative have these supernatural powers with them, in them, all they have to do is tap into them. This is not negating that those that are not Rh negative don't have these abilities, because they do.
Everybody has the potential.
Exactly. Everybody has that potential. However, people that are Rh negative have a higher potential than those that are Rh positive, because of the fact that they have a little bit of the monkey gene. The monkey gene is what holds people back. It's the barbaric mindset. It is the flight, fight mentality. It is the mentality that causes you to flip somebody off when somebody cuts you off on the freeway or on the road. Whereas somebody who doesn't have that mentality, who has fully mastered themselves, instead of flipping them off or getting cut off, they just bless them. And that is the difference between, a barbaric or somebody who's still in their lower mind, as opposed to somebody who's operating from the higher mind, who has more compassion, in other words.
The lower mind people tend to want to control others, and the higher mind people want to control themselves.
Absolutely, yeah.
And that's a good point.
One of the chapters in my book, Forever Free, Soul Liberation with the Spirit of Truth. One of the chapters is Sovereign Soul has self-control.
Yeah. By the way, Ishmael, I had to put that up. The audience loves you.
Thank you, guys. Love. So much love. I appreciate it. Right back.
I have a wonderful audience, Ishmael. I really do. They're very awakened. They're very. They like to ask questions and they engage. So it's really cool. Sherry Jay Thought has a question. What's the Garden of Eden story where God is the serpent giving Eve the apple to awaken her? Well,
again, a lot of those parables in the Bible are metaphors. So we could say that Enki is the snake in the garden. He's also the progenitor of the what we call the reptilian serpent race. He was the father of Cain, and of course we know Cain killed Abel. And then he also is known as the progenitor of the Brotherhood of the Snake, which is the network that runs the Cabal families. So that whole Bible incident, the whole apple incident, was when Enki decided to give a lot of technical knowledge to primitive man who were not yet spiritually evolved. That's what that meant. In order to cause the destruction of the Golden Age, to cause a demise in the Golden Age.
Nice. Not. Okay, let me see.
Good technology in bad hands could lead to things like directed energy weapons, for example, right?
Well, that's another example. Where do you think the Cabal got all these weapons of mass destruction from?
I know.
From their draconian overlords.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And some that were meant to be good, and the people that were wanted to use them for good were suppressed or eliminated.
Mhm.
I wanted to ask you about this, Ishmael. There's places that they call serpent mounds. Now, is that reptilian race stuff? I mean, original mound builders in the USA. Who were the original mound builders in the USA East Coast? Were they survivors of Atlantis?
Those were actually the indigenous tribes that existed here prior to the European settlements, I guess I said it right the first time. And they were actually survivors of ancient civilizations. So a lot of them came as remnants of the Lemurian continent. That's why, a lot of them settled here in the Americas, because the Lemurian continent existed in the Pacific Ocean. And so a lot of them came to the Americas, and they were the progenitors of the indigenous tribes. Yep.
Okay. What about serpent mounds? What are those all about?
Serpent mounds, as in serpent, like snake?
Yeah, that's what I've heard some people talking about. They're called serpent mounds, and they're like a hill mound or whatever. And I don't know. I guess I need to research it more. I don't get it. Do you know anything about it, Michelle?
This is the first time I've heard of that.
No, I haven't heard of serpent.
I've never heard of a serpent. I mean, I've heard of the mounds, like peak places, mountaintops where, people get revelations, right? Where they receive transmissions from God or the angels. But I've never heard of the serpent mounds. Never have.
Next time I see something, I'll send it to you, and we can discuss it at another time, and if you like. That'll be kind of interesting, because I don't know what it is, and yeah, I can think of a site where it's at right now, but I don't want to go into that anymore. I'm just seeing if there's any other. Yeah, see, Sherry knows what I'm talking about. Serpent mounds, yeah.
Oh, you want to share what they are?
Sherry Graham said, yes, serpent mounds.
Oh, mounds.
Mounds, M-O-U-N-D-S.
Huh.
Like a mound, It's so weird. I don't, she knows what I'm talking about. I've heard about it. I don't it's hills in the shape of snakes, especially in North America. Yeah, I mean, serpent mounds. Does that mean there's a whole bunch of snakes in there, or what? I don't know.
Oh, wow. I didn't know that they were snakes. Again, Thoth, who came to the Americans in ancient times, was also known as Quetzalcoatl, or the plump serpent. And perhaps he was the designer of that. And who knows? I'm just saying, I'm just throwing it out there. I'm hypothesizing now.
Well, you've read a lot of material, so, you might be able to put stuff together and actually be right about that. But we'll look into it some more another time. Let's see.
I do want to mention something. Ishmael, I think that, what you're doing and your service and getting out there, I know that, when you came onto the scene, you were like pretty popular, right away. Everybody wanted to hear you and see you, and, and so it just seems like that you were activated to serve your life's purpose. And I just want to commend you, because I think that you're making really great strides.
Oh,
and
yeah.
You're doing really a good job. You're really helping humanity.
I'm here to commend you too, Ishmael, very much so. People wanted to know more about our cosmic origin, and there just wasn't that much out there. And your work, which obviously is endless, it seems. We put in a lot of hours into, I know, because of what I do. And so I really, and then you do the books, besides. So you're doing a lot, and I commend you for that.
Thank you, Michelle and Gail of Gaia, and everyone else here. I'm doing my part. That's it, and it's an honor to be of service, and I'm always a forever student. In terms of always learning, I don't claim to know everything. Nobody does. Only the infinite creator does. And I'm just grabbing small portions of that, cosmic mind, whatever you want to call it. So I'm still learning like everyone else. And I believe that my contribution was really restoring back the galactic history more so than anything, in the different, universes and Earth's place in the organized multiverse. But I believe that humanity needed to be ready, at least the collective, because if I would have published my book 5 years ago, I think it would have gone over people's heads, because people were still learning about the Anunnaki.
Timing.
They were still learning, you know what I mean? Like crash retrievals, learning about advanced technologies, learning about ET races, but nobody was really ready to understand the entire galactic history. And so that's my contribution to humanity, is restoring that lost knowledge that was once part of our culture in ancient times.
And timing is everything.
Oh,
it really is.
Yeah, that's you just answered one of the questions that I had, because I understand the being prepared and having things ready and having to wait for the right divine moment. And it was, did you ever feel like you were prepared for an assignment and you were ready to go, but you had to wait for divine timing, or for that moment in time when the receptivity of the receivers to receive your gifts and your life purpose mission? And so you answered it before I asked the question, but that was actually one of my questions.
Well, to add to that, I actually finished my manuscript, Our Cosmic Origin, 4 to 5 years before it was published. It just sat there. And the only reason being is because they were telling me people are not going to be receptive to this information. It's like it's going to be over their heads. And so I waited patiently. And they told me that when the time was right, they said, be ready, Ishmael. You got to be prepared, because when the time is right, you're going to come into the same fast that, your head's going to be spinning. They told me, it's like, you better be ready to step into your role. And I said, all right, let's do it. And so I do remember that I went on my first interview that catapulted me into the scene was, of course, Nicholas Veniamin. And how I got that interview, I never share this story, and I'll share it with you guys.
Oh, good.
I watched an interview a few weeks prior, before me coming on his show. I watched an interview that he was conducting between him and Jason Shurka. And he asked Jason Shurka, well, can you tell me about the Greys? And Jason Shurka said, oh, I don't know anything about the Greys. And then he asked him a second question. He says, well, can you tell me about the Pleiadians? Or the Pleiadians, who are they? And Jason said, I don't know anything about the Pleiadians. And I said, oh my God, well, I do. So I actually took the time to reach out to him via Instagram, because back then I didn't know his email. So I reached out to Nicholas Veniamin, right? I was like, hey, I just watched your interview with Shurka, and he couldn't answer certain questions. I have the answers to those questions and more. I just wrote a book, blah, 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 blah. And no kidding, within days, he replied, and he got me on his show. And then I think what ended up happening was Terabyte Janine happened to watch that show, and she did a commentary the next day on her show about it. And she also pulled cards to see if I was telling the truth about Samana, the 11th universe, how he was overtaken by AI and all this. And so I guess a lot of people started watching that show as a result of her commentary. And then a few days later, I reached out to her, and of course she brought me onto her show. And then after I was on her show, all of a sudden I was getting blasted with emails.
Yeah.
Tom Numbers, Catherine Edwards. I mean,
I was going to mention her. She's good.
And that's how I came into the scene so fast. That's why I was, they said I blew the internet for like a few months. I was like being interviewed by everyone. And to me, that was just a confirmation from the Galactics that divine timing, exactly,
Exactly.
And that was how it happened, guys. It was just divine timing. And of course, as a result of that, I did, how can I say it? I can't win everybody. There was a few people that were saying, oh, he came to the scene so fast, he must be a CIA plan, or he must be AI. And there was a few responses, but it's okay. That's what happens. Well, go ahead.
People with egos sort of, they don't want anyone to take the spotlight. And, I hate to say it, maybe it's not necessarily true, but I sort of can recognize ego. And, when people are jealous or something like that, that you can really feel the energy or read the energy when that happens. Mm-hmm. But, I personally, Well, actually, in my book, Forever Free, here's a copy. One of the chapters in the beginning is the stars do come out at night. And that's about souls who are here to be of service during this awakening, getting activated at a certain time. And so many souls who are star seeds, light warriors, light workers, whatever you want to call us, will get activated at specific times and come out and shine their light. And there's, people are going to get activated more and more. In fact, in one of your shows, I was talking about how it's going to be like when you're popping popcorn, it's like pop here, one comes out, pop there, another comes out. And then, everything's starting to light up and everybody's needed, and pop, 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 pop. And all these people are going to be coming out with compassion, with the idea of service, selfless service, not to see what you can get, but to see what you can give, and to feel that inner intrinsic value of, okay, I'm serving my purpose. I'm doing what I came here to do. This is my mission, and it feels good to do it. So.
Absolutely.
QFay has another quick question. Oh,
I just wanted to thank Tim Potter for saying that. He says, glad you did, Ishmael. As I was deciding between buying your book or ED's book, I bought yours. Oh, thank you, Tim. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Tim. Yeah, Tim's always here. He's a good guy. Okay, QFay is asking you, what's your take on Project Bluebeam? Is a holographic deception already happening around us, or what do you think about that?
Well, it was supposed to be part of the last card that the powers that were going to be trying to pull. And of course, who spilled the beans, right? The ex-Nazi rocket builder, Eric. I don't want to say his name for terms.
Yeah, we know who you're talking about.
And he even admitted it, that that the powers that were going to try to use holographic advanced technology to make it seem like we were going to be attacked by aliens in order to impose their one world tyranny. But because of the protection that the Earth is under, it was completely neutralized. See, that was supposed to happen in 2022, by the way. That's when they were going to, you could say, try to pull that last card, but it failed because of the Galactic Alliance. And of course, because of the Earth Alliance and the White Hats who have been pushing back as well. They're not allowing them to do anything of that degree, And so,
once the playbook is exposed, they can't keep using it because people see their ploys and their methods. And then as soon as something happens, the spotlight's on, they look into it, they know the playbook, and they can't get away with it.
Yeah, they can't. Exactly. So that agenda has completely been dismantled. We don't have to worry about a fake alien invasion. No, not at all.
Good. Yeah, a lot of things are. I just feel like we're winning big time.
Absolutely.
The good guys, and things are just going to continue to get better and get exposed at the same time. We didn't answer that question, did we? Now I got to find it again. She was at. Oh yeah, we did. What am I talking about? That was the Blue Beam one. Okay, let me see if there's any other ones. Let's see what this one says. Ismael, while driving, I felt a powerful wave of energy go from my tailbone up my spine to my crown. Was this my chakras being activated or something else? I had to pull off the highway. Wow.
Ooh, it sounds like you were getting that Kundalini activation. That's what that is. Yeah, because at the base of her spine, it's all this unlimited potential of untapped energy that we call Kundalini energy. There's different names to describe that, but as we emerge more so into the photon belt, of course, that was the topic of the beginning of this talk. A lot of that's going to be happening to a lot of people, and that could manifest in having physical ailments like back pain, lower back pain, because the Kundalini energy, which acts like a slinky, right? It's all kind of compressed, is trying to go up your spine to activate the 7 seals of revelation, which were metaphorically describing the 7 chakras. And that's what's going to activate the light body. So that's a good thing.
And the activation of the light causes those ascension symptoms where something comes and goes. You might think you're sick, but you let it pass. And it's that activation, it's purification, activation, just really the body's being transformed and translated into more light and etheric, lightness rather than the density of it.
Yeah, exactly. Yep.
Well, guys, we're coming up on over an hour and a half, and I think we're going to have to call it a wrap.
Good idea.
The real Ismael Perez.
That is the link to my YouTube channel. For those that want to hop on also to my YouTube channel, I'm actually going live 3 times a week, revealing juicy information, white hat updates, galactic updates, and so much more. And, I also discuss so many topics that relate to a lot of people who want to continue expanding their consciousness. So if you guys want to follow me on my YouTube channel, it's called The Real Ismael Perez. And I'm doing everything in my power to knock out all those pirated accounts that are under my name, by the way.
Yeah, that's wow. That's what happens when you get popular, I just Cosmo Goy said, thanks, Gail, for having Ismael on, and thanks, Ismael, for demonstrating inclusiveness to all the catty-shatty, clicky, blow sunshine jetties who are unable to listen and tune in.
Well, I welcome everybody. I welcome flat earthers, round earthers.
Beautiful.
I don't care what you believe in. And on my platform, we're all brothers and sisters. And one of the fundamental things that I like to talk about is the idea of unifying at this time, and just letting go of our small differences, and just coming together as a spiritual community, because we're all in this together. It is an information warfare. And the only way we're going to come through is if we unify, right? That's the only way we're going to come through. And then I did update a new edition for my book, Our Cosmic Origin. They are no longer selling the old edition, which again was completely sabotaged. So this time, before it went into print, I actually read through it. So there is no grammatical errors anymore. It reads perfectly now. And I did add a new
chapter. Process.
Yeah. And I did add a new chapter, which actually reveals what happened when Enki came back and decided to infiltrate the Galactic Federation and much more. So if you guys want to get that juicy information, make sure you order Our Cosmic Origin, available on Amazon. It is a purple cover. Well, it's the only cover now. So yeah, they no longer sell the first edition. So yeah.
All right. Love it here. This comment's important. Love and unity is the way, and that's what we're pushing and striving for. And thank you for saying that, Ismael, about the I have just avoided even talking about flat earth, round earth, whatever. People get so hostile and so triggered about it. It's upsetting. Oh, you're just a flathead. And I mean, they insult people. It's just totally uncalled for. And I don't care what you believe. It's up to you to believe whatever you want, and we're all going to find out the truth, and then we'll know.
Exactly. Once our chakras activate the light body and we are restored to full consciousness, you realize we're going to be able to see and remote view Earth from a distance and see what it really looks like outside of the Earth, to see if it's a pancake. Right. And actually, let me just throw this out there.
Or a toroidal or an egg.
Or a sphere or a globe. From a second dimensional perspective, in terms of an ant going either right or left, but there is no height, right? Which means it's a second dimensional perspective. Yes. If you are perceiving the Earth from a second dimensional perspective, of course it's flat. But if you are perceiving it from a third dimensional perspective and above, then it begins to have more, it becomes more of a sphere, because you're starting to see different dimensions of it that you normally could not see from a two-dimensional perspective. So perhaps they're both correct. We'll see.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I say. Maybe they're both right.
And I have a YouTube channel also. It's called Smile Soul Power. And I have not interviewed people. I just put out messages so far. But I do intend to do that. And I would love to have you, Ismael, someday, and Gail, you as well someday, when I start interviewing people instead of just putting out messages. But it's Smile Soul Power. And there are messages there that could be of value if anybody wants to watch it.
And then you have that one. You have I always like this one too. You have a place where you have decrees that people can.
Oh yeah,
can decree things.
I have 3 websites, but the main website is smile4love.com. Smile4love.com, and SMILE is an acronym because I'm actually creating some new holistic spiritual education. So SMILE stands for Spiritual Miracles Intentional Living Education.
Ooh,
So
love that.
Yeah.
I'm education, which is based on discovering your true God self and your gifts and your purpose, and then expressing your highest potential.
There we go.
Love it. Love it.
Well, thank you both for being here. Thank you for the time you spent with us, and
Gail.
thank you listening, Austin. Thank you. And I just want to let you know too, last word, SuperPatch helps support your bioelectric field. So
absolutely.
Very interesting.
And it's an honor to meet you, Michelle and Gail of Gaia. It's always a pleasure to be here again. And like I say on my YouTube channel, every time I say bye, may the God force be with you all, always.
Oh, thank you. I like that. I might have to copy that if you don't mind.
Yeah, go
I
ahead.
send love to
Okay, we
everybody.
go. Yeah, we do the love thing. Except I can never make my heart as good as I'd like to. But anyway, I try. All right,
Great.
everyone.
Thank you, Gail.
Thank you, and thank you, listening audience. And we'll see you again soon. Stay in the light.
Always. Yes.
We have found our way. It's a brand new day, and we'll be making history. Are you with me? Won't you stay? We have come so far. This is who we are. And like the rising sun, we have just begun to play our part. This is the time we form the chorus. Lift your voice for those before us. We can rely on one another. Feel the pride, let's show our colors. We are heroes and dreamers. We are restless believers, stronger than ever. Never say never. Don't look back now. Don't look back now. Rise up, stand with each other. We are sisters and brothers, finding our place and running the race. We'll take our chance and seize the moment. Hold on tight and don't let go of all your hopes and dreams that light the way. We control our fate. Destiny awaits. We are all the actors in the stories we create. Hope will be our guide. We'll no longer hide. When we roll like thunder, feel the wonder from inside. This is the time we form the chorus. Lift your voice for those before us. We can rely on one another. Feel the pride, let's show our colors.